And now, Lifestyles Unlimited presents the Real Estate Investor Radio Show. Over the next hour, we unfold your map to financial freedom. You'll learn how to retire through investing in single-family and multifamily real estate. You'll learn how to create cash flow and build wealth so you can have the time and money to live the lifestyle you want.
Welcome to the Lifestyles Unlimited Real Estate Investor Radio Show. My name is Al Gordon. I'm joined by Ben. Together, we're not only Lifestyles Unlimited members, we're lead investors within the organization, and we're going to help you understand your financial freedom. And the way we're going to do it is we're going to get into Ben's head. We're going to walk around inside. It's a little squishy in there, so be careful. Make sure you got your overboots on. But we're going to walk through his mind, and we're going to understand some of the things that he is doing that's allowed him to transition away from who he used to be, especially financially, into who he is now, and again, especially financially. Because here's the thing Ben and I know. When you become a member of Lifestyles Unlimited, like we did, it opens the door to a lot of possibilities. Now some people join Lifestyles Unlimited, and they kind of come in kicking and screaming because maybe they've got some past experience. And I know Ben had some past experience before becoming a Lifestyles Unlimited member. I, too, had past experience before becoming a Lifestyles Unlimited member. And I think what you're going to find out is that that experience didn't necessarily prepare either one of us for the transition we went through when we became members of Lifestyles Unlimited. So with no further ado, I'm going to bring Ben on. I mean, he's technically already on, but we're going to turn his mic up, and we're going to have a nice conversation with Ben. And you're going to learn something from a man who is willing to risk his life to save other people. Ben, welcome to the show. How you doing?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me.
So I just kind of mentioned, I kind of threw it out there that you're willing to save your life to benefit other people. What do you do for a living, Ben?
So my W-2, my day job is I am a firefighter.
Okay. And how long have you done that?
It's hard to imagine this, but I'm coming up on my 19th year.
Wow, 19 years. Now, are you with the same organization, or did you have to move organizations?
No, I've stayed with the same department the entire time. So I'm
Okay.
actually getting close to where I need to make some retirement decisions here. So that's where Lifestyles comes in.
Okay. So you're coming close to the end of what you perceive to be your career, right?
Yes, I'm headed there. Feels like it's happening faster than I could have imagined.
Now, is there like a certain amount of time that you work for the department that vests you into some kind of retirement pension?
That's correct. You have to work at least 20 years before you're eligible to retire with a full pension.
Okay, so you're danger close. I mean, you just got to get through the next year, not do anything dumb, and you're good to go, right?
Correct. Now, obviously, the longer you work, it changes the benefits that you receive. So I could work up to 30 years, but 20 years is kind of that hard line in the sand.
Okay. And you're running not only that W-2 job parallel to another business endeavor, correct?
That is correct. Yes.
And
Started doing.
you're buying apartments, right?
Yes, that is the route I'm currently on. I worked my way up to it, but yes, I'm a lead investor in a 61 unit apartment complex.
Okay, so most of the audience, except, well, the Lifestyles Unlimited members that are listening to us, they get it, they understand that term. But what does lead investor mean to the members of our audience that don't understand that terminology?
So outside of lifestyles, I believe you call it a syndicator or a syndication, and that's basically where the lead investor, the syndicator, goes out and finds the deal and then puts together a group of investors where they can place their money with the lead investor and they purchase the deal and the lead investor or syndicator operates it, runs it, and distributes the profits to the passive investors.
Now, your commitment to the fire department is how many hours per week? What do you do there?
So we work roughly 48 hours a week. It's two 24-hour shifts is kind of the way it plays out. The schedule kind of floats, so I work 24-hour shifts on different days each week, but it comes out to about two 24-hour shifts a week.
Okay, so you get the other 5 days for you.
That's correct. Yeah, so we do get a lot of time off. Now you're working large chunks at a time, but you do get a fair amount of time off, and that's allowed me to really pursue real estate. And instead of working, another job, I chose to pursue the real estate investment route.
Now, you mentioned work another job. How many other members of your department moonlight or work that second job?
It's a high percentage, most definitely. Um,
Why do they
you know,
do that?
the one of the things that everybody says, you know, about the fire service is that it is a deeply rewarding career, but you're not going to get rich doing it. And that is the truth. Um, it I have found that being a part of the fire service has truly changed my life for the better. But financially, I could see the writing on the wall that I needed something for after. I needed something to make sure that we were financially independent, financially stable, and that we had the retirement that we wanted when we reached that point.
So you're building a business parallel to what you're doing for a full-time job. And if I understand you correctly, there's a plan to transition away from fire services, take advantage of whatever pension they make available to you, because effectively that pension becomes passive income for you. But you're concurrently building a business that's going to develop additional passive income that you don't necessarily have to go back to work for. Although you are spending some of your time focused on that business, correct?
That is correct. It's working on the business versus, I guess, working in the business is the way that Dell puts it a lot. Really trying to build effective systems and put the right team together and in place. We've got the right team in place that really allows me to focus on the big picture of the business and not so much work in the day to day.
Well stated. Well stated. Hey, in the next segment, we're going to get back inside of Ben's head. It's really not that bad in here, is it? Stick around. Welcome back to the show. If you're just joining me, you've missed a lot because Ben is sharing some very important information with you. One of the things that Ben has recognized in his life is that he's at the back end of a very fulfilling career that will eventually pay him a pension. But the issue becomes transitioning away from that, right, Ben?
That's correct. Yeah.
So
And the pension,
you're about. Go ahead. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
oh, I was just going to say, a pension is, at least the way ours is set up, is not a full replacement of your income. It's really just a partial replacement. So we'll walk away with about maybe 50% of what you make in a year. And so there's got to be something else to make up that difference if you want to maintain your current lifestyle. And that's really when I started in real estate was I wanted to be a firefighter because I wanted to be and not because I financially needed to be. And as I've progressed through my career now, the real estate investing is focused on making sure that I can provide for my family, maintain our lifestyle. I have that financial independence outside of the pension and in addition to the pension.
Yeah, I've got the same problem that you have. I retired from the United States Army after 27 years. I get a pension. Pension pays me about one third of what I used to make. Your pension does a little better. It gets you to about 50%. But the problem becomes the consumption within your household. I mean, I'm guessing you tend to spend most, if not all, of what you earn just surviving and living the lifestyle that you're living. And the danger is if you retire in a year, hey, you're retired physically, but you may not be financially retired, right?
That's correct. Absolutely. And we have a 10-year-old and a 6-year-old. So, their kids, their expenses seem to increase year over year. So we need a way to build our passive income and build our income as we move into these next phases of life.
So you got involved in real estate back in 2007, just before the big meltdown of every financial market. Why did you do that? What was the thought process? Were you thinking about, what am I going to do after I retire even back then?
So in 2007, I had just graduated from school. I had gotten a bachelor's in business at Texas Tech, and I read a book, and this is going to sound a little bit like a broken record because a lot of people come on and say this, but I read a book, Rich Dad
Oh,
Poor
can I
Dad.
guess? Oh, I was
Oh,
going
God,
to
yeah.
guess.
And it really piqued my interest, and I never thought about money like that, and I never thought about investing in passive income. It never crossed my mind. And so I had a friend whose dad was a real estate broker and had done some real estate investments. And so he kind of helped me and my friend kind of partner up and buy a single family property. It was supposed to be a flip because if you think way back in those days, flips were the hot thing. And it turned into a single family rental because the shift in the market and Lehman Brothers had collapsed and all of the great financial crisis happened literally right when we were in the middle of trying to do that deal. And so I got the a very quick introduction into rental real estate. But the great thing about real estate is it's very forgiving and you can absorb market cycles, assuming that you enter the deal correctly and you don't make some serious missteps. But the deal was structured well enough that we were okay, and we just ended up with a single family rental.
So how long did you hold that rental for?
It was a while. We held it for about 9 years is how
Wow.
long we ended up, start to finish, waiting for the market to recover. Because even though we bought it at the time, it was a good deal. We bought it at the top of the market, and the market crashed, right after we purchased it. So we had to wait a long time. And the good news is we're collecting cash flow the whole time that we had it. But we had to wait a long time to really get it, get out of that deal and recover
Now,
all of
did you buy that particular asset at full retail value, or did you get a discount on it? I mean, 2007, everything was through the roof, and it was if you waited 10 minutes, it would go up $5,000.
Right. We bought it at a foreclosure auction. My friend's dad, he knew a lot. He had bought a lot of property through auctions at the time, and while it was at a foreclosure auction, it probably was not substantially discounted at the time, just because there was so much, activity in the market at that time.
Better price point, but ultimately, when the market collapsed, your equity evaporated. And if I'm reading the story right, it took about 9 years for the market to fully recover, so that you get some, if not all, or maybe more of that equity back. Is
That's
that kind of
correct.
the ride you took? Okay,
That's
so I
correct.
mean, it's an example of not timing the market correctly, but heck, it's 2007. You're a brand new graduate from the business school at Texas Tech, so you've got a wealth of real estate experience, right? Because Texas Tech taught you everything you needed to know. Oh, and you read Rich Dad Poor Dad, so that gave you all the tactical advantage that you needed, right?
I wish. When
Oh
I
no.
found when I found lifestyles in 2017, I knew when I took the class that it was what I was missing. I had continued to do some real estate investing over the years as I was recovering from the market crash and that sort of thing. I was buying things at tax sales and auctions and selling them on owner finance, which was a bad idea. It seemed good at the time, but bad idea because it's reverse leverage. You are the bank, so you're the one being leveraged. But I found lifestyles, and I knew immediately sitting through it they were legitimate and that it was what I was missing to take real estate to the next level, to really make progress.
Yeah, I joined in 2017 also. So, I mean, you and I have been members for probably about the same amount of time. Now, I joined in San Antonio. You're over in the Houston area, right?
Mhm. That's correct.
Okay. So that's probably why our paths haven't crossed. You know, we've probably seen each other at events. We've probably shaken hands, but beyond that, we really haven't had this kind of an intimate conversation. But that's the beauty of the Lifestyles Unlimited community. You and I can get together and we can get deep into a conversation about the past, the present, and the future. And we're basically having a conversation that's evolving around the roadmap that Lifestyles Unlimited taught us, because you and I know the insider information, if you will, for real estate investing, because that's what Lifestyles Unlimited does. It gives us the tactical, the operational, and the strategic plans. And what we have to do is tailor those to our needs. And I'm pretty confident, Ben, that's exactly what you did.
That's correct. The roadmap that Lifestyles teaches, it's a proven system, and if you take it and apply it the way that they teach it, and you are active and involved in Lifestyles, you network with people, you talk to them, you get their feedback, it really is the path to success. And you can deploy those strategies in your local market, or there's people that invest across in single family across the country. I always invested, close where I can keep an eye on what I'm buying, but you can deploy the lifestyle strategy to fit your market and your needs, and it really is a proven system. I was blown away by it.
Yeah, me too. Me absolutely too. In the next segment, we're going to get back inside of Ben's mind. You're loving it, aren't you? Stick around. Welcome back to the Lifestyles Unlimited Real Estate Investor Radio Show. My name is Al Gordon. I'm joined by Ben. Together, we're working on your financial freedom, and we're doing so by sharing a lot of information. A lot of this information is personal information, but one of the reasons you're doing it, Ben, is that's kind of how we roll in the Lifestyles Unlimited culture, right? We don't hold back information from other people because that information could be beneficial to them. And one of the things I really want the audience to understand is that Ben and I, our ages are different. We live in different places, but we found Lifestyles Unlimited, and we effectively had the same problem. My problem was that I had retired from the United States Army and tried to live off of one third of what I used to make, and it didn't work very well, and I had to scramble to get back into the workforce. And I hated it because in my mind, I was supposed to be physically retired. Well, I wasn't financially retired. So that was a big issue. You have to be financially retired in order for the physical retirement to work. Otherwise, you got to go back into the workforce. Now, Ben, he's got that same problem. Now, the difference is he found Lifestyles Unlimited before his retirement date. He's looking at a retirement date maybe as close as a year, but it could be longer than that, right, Ben? I mean, it's not like they're going to shove you out the door at 20 years, or are they?
I could work for a little over 10 more years, so if I really needed to or wanted to, but I'd like to be able to make that decision not based on the need of income from the fire department. I'd like to be able to make that decision based on whether or not I truly want to stay or if it's time to go. I don't want to, I guess, be trapped, so to speak, and feel like I have to be there.
Yeah, I mean, you're probably starting to already feel a little more in control of your life. You've got this multifamily asset that you've bought and you're operating now. Or you're turning that thing around, I'm assuming, right?
Yes, so we are definitely working on turning the property around. The previous owners, they did a good job with it, and we're looking to take it to the next level. So we've got a lot of CapEx going on. You know, we're putting new roofs, doing painting, improving units, making the unit turns a little bit higher end, and really trying to drive that NOI to make sure that our investors see a really great return.
So it sounds like you bought something that was maybe being operated pretty well, but maybe the property was a little tired and needed some refreshing to be more competitive in the marketplace, right?
Yes, and they weren't doing a bad job of operating it. I don't want to put that across. They had owned it for a long. They were long time owners. I think 10 plus years, and they were doing well. They were cash flowing well, and I don't think that they felt the need or the urgency that, you know, they were retired from this property retired them, I believe, and uh, so they were cash flowing well, they were doing well, so there wasn't that urgency and that I think that drive to really go in there and push rents and push NOI and improve expenses and improve efficiency financially for the property.
But you saw that potential when you looked at this asset. What was it that stood out that really caught your eye about this asset that no other asset had done before?
So it was brought to me by a lifestyles broker, and she was fantastic. And you know, she brought it to me. She said, "Hey, I really think you need to look at it and give it a serious uh, evaluation." I said, "Okay, you know, let me take a look at the numbers." And uh, I looked at the numbers, and I don't know if folks are familiar with the way the market cycle's been lately, but it's been very tough to find anything that to purchase that really makes a lot of financial sense. But I looked at the numbers and I said, I think there's something really to this. And then I went out and I saw the property, I drove it, and I immediately went, this is a great property. This has so much potential. I did a market analysis on the rents and I realized how far behind the market they were on rents. And it really just all of the pieces seemed to fall into place all at once on this deal, which I hadn't seen on previous deals before. Sometimes there would be marginal, but there'd be this big question mark or this big issue. But this one, everything seemed to really click into place.
How many other assets did you look at before you found this one?
Oh goodness.
More than one?
Over, if you count everything that just a desktop review of, you know, looking on the internet, running the financials to see how if they make sense or not, I'd say 100 plus. I actually started looking uh, as an IRO before I started looking as a lead, and I had been looking for a couple of years as an IRO since about 2022, and I couldn't find anything that really made sense that I was comfortable deploying money into and bringing as a lead, bringing investors into, because that's such a higher level of responsibility when you have people giving you their life savings and investing with you to really make sure that that deal makes a lot of good sense.
Yeah, I've been looking at a lot of property myself. I'm well into the low 100s as far as analyzing deals and submitted, one or two LOIs along the way, only to not be accepted. And one of the things that I've been seeing, to your point, is if the asset has been owned for maybe only a couple of years, the chances are that the people that bought it technically overpaid for it, because we're talking about assets that are from what, 2022, 2023, and they're trying to at least break even, but their price point in the marketplace is much higher than what the true financial returns are telling us the price ought to be. And so I've been seeing a lot of that. So I think where you found a gem there, Ben, is you found one where they've had it for 10 years. So 10 years ago, they bought that property right. I mean, we're talking 2016, right? Maybe 2015. So they've owned it and operated it. They went through the seller's market of like 2021 into 2022, and they're through the compression of the prices that we've seen, and they've just been steady Eddie along the way. They've been able to operate. They don't want to raise rents, or they if they do, it's their little rent bumps because they're still operating efficiently based off that model that they had from 10 years ago. But now the building's wearing out. There's things that probably need to be replaced. They're spending more money, and they're probably thinking like you stated, hey, we're retired now. Do we really need the asset? Maybe we ought to just take the money out of it. And the price point that you negotiated was still satisfactory to them because it's still an excellent price point based on the fact they bought it 10 years ago. So I think that might have been part of the magic that made this one work for you. What do you think about that?
I agree. I agree. And to your point, a deal that transacted in 2022 and 2023 when they were buying, really at that peak. We've also had a lot of market shift in taxes and insurance in Texas. It's starting to moderate now, and it's really made what a new buyer coming in can offer really a lot less than what people were paying in 2022 and 2023. And so, yeah, like you said, finding that deal that makes a lot of sense. I really, and I'd like to claim that I found it, but I didn't find it. It was Diana with Lifestyles Realty. She was
Yeah,
fantastic.
Diana's awesome.
She found it, she brought it to me, and she really did a great job of helping the deal go through and making the transaction work. So I got to give her the majority of the credit there on finding a good deal. And that's part of the great thing about Lifestyles is you have access to those resources and that team.
Yep, and you've got Diana on your team, and that's the best thing you've ever done so far. In the next segment, guess where we're going? Right back to his head. Stick around. Welcome back to the show. So Ben, I think it's really amazing. You've looked at well over 100 assets. You finally found the one asset that made sense. How long ago did you buy that thing? Have you owned that for like a couple of years or what?
No, we're just over 1 month of ownership, so we're still new. We're very early on in our business plan. We're the chaos of closing and all of that stuff is starting to settle, and we're really starting to get deep into operations and really get our capex and I guess our genuine business plan up and rolling.
So at Lifestyles Unlimited, we're taught as lead investors that we need to develop and execute a 90-day plan. And that plan is really designed for us to hit certain things right off the bat that need to be tackled. Are you doing that 90-day plan?
We are furiously tearing through that 90-day plan. A lot of it involves some big capex projects. So the property, it's actually a 1930s school that was converted into apartments in the 80s. And so
Oh,
it
wow.
brings a lot of yeah, it's a really neat property. Yeah, it blew me away when I saw it and for the first time. And so, but because of that, it has some unique features like no insulation in the ceilings. So, well, yeah, it also needed a new roof. It's got some tired paint, some tired exterior items. So a lot of what we're doing is exterior capex. So right now we've got new roofs going on all the buildings. It's got the main school building and then two smaller ones on each side. So we're doing new roofs on all of those buildings. We did R38 insulation throughout the ceilings in between the second floor and the roof, so that our residents can have lower utility costs and be a little more comfortable. We're going to do exterior paint. We're going to do a lot of exterior work, beautification. We've been trimming trees. We're doing landscaping, And then the school building itself inside has some common areas. It's a center hallway style apartment complex. And whereas the two smaller buildings are more garden style apartments. And so on the center hallways, um, we're going to be painting and new carpet, just refreshing the interiors, and then actually I'll have the unit turns themselves. Uh, Also on the operational side, that's the asset side, but on the operational side, we're improving our marketing and our market presence. We're running our comparable market analysis and making sure that we're competitive with the market on rents. We're working our unit turns to provide the best product at the best price so that when people walk into our units, they go, wow, this is a beautiful unit and I can't believe it's at that price. So we're doing that, and we've got our first few unit turns done. We're improving our processes a little bit. Obviously, there's growing pains, and you get familiar with the property, so you have a lot that you figure out along the way. But really, for the most part, our business plan is moving ahead full steam.
Wow, so you're rocking and rolling, and you're engaged, I mean, are you doing all this work yourself?
Now, I have a great team. So I'm supervising the team. So I have a fantastic manager. She's on site, and a maintenance person who they're doing a lot of the day-to-day operational stuff. And then I have contractors that are doing the roofs and insulation, the exterior painting, and all of the big product projects. And so really, it's managing and supervising my team and keeping them on track and making sure that they have the tools and resources they need to be successful.
So I always like to equate what you're doing to an orchestra. And there's my dog. She concurs. Anyway, what I'm trying to point out is an orchestra needs a conductor, and you're the conductor. And your orchestra needs to be as big as it needs to be to fulfill what your vision is as the conductor, right? So how big is your orchestra?
Well, I've got obviously the full-time maintenance person and the manager, and um, they're on the operations side, and then I've got the roofing contractor. I've got a general contractor who is working with the exterior painting and improvements on the outside. I've got my landscaping team. I've got my attorneys that help with the acquisition, and you know the LU brokerage. They help with the acquisition, bring me the deal. Uh, Insurance agents, all of the different facets of a real estate transaction. I have somebody or multiple people that I lean on and utilize. The mentors with Lifestyles Unlimited have been huge. I was blown away by how responsive and how helpful they were when I had something immediate. I call up, and we've got folks that are specialized in operations that we can call and talk to, and then all of the other members of Lifestyles are also part of my team because they have a wealth of knowledge and experience, and I lean on them as well. I've also got a key principal on the deal who has been fantastic. He's a Lifestyles member as well, and he's just been amazing and really helped guide me through a lot of the startup and operational stuff and the emotional support when things get frustrating. So it's a really big team. I don't think I could sit here and name off everybody. We'd run out of time. But
Yeah, so it's a pretty big orchestra, and some of those teammates that you identified have their own little orchestras that support them. So effectively, you're in charge of all of that, and you're making it work. How difficult is it to make it work?
it's intimidating when you're stepping up to do it. But as you do it, and it's really not too bad. Um, Especially, now that I've been at it a little over a month, we're really starting to get into a rhythm and get things figured out. And the great thing is that Lifestyles has such a good roadmap, and they have so many vendors and so many people that have done this before that you implement these systems in your business. And once they're up and running, they continue to run and you just maintain them. One gets a little bit off, you just nudge it back into the right direction. But once you set these things up, they really get going and you really are just maintaining. So it I've been very pleasantly surprised.
How many Lifestyles Unlimited members partnered with you on this deal?
We have a total of 46 investors in the deal.
Wow, 46 families that believe in what you're doing, understand what you're doing because they're educated the same way, and they're willing to give you some of their life savings because they believe in you. They believe in what Lifestyles Unlimited helps us to achieve. They believe in the support we get from Lifestyles Unlimited. And Ben, I think you're well on your way. How do you feel about that?
It's kind of hard to believe sometimes. Over the last month and a half, I've told myself I can't believe I found one. I can't believe I got it closed. Like and things are moving forward the way that I had planned them out. I mean, obviously there's hiccups here and there, but we overcome them. But it feels really good to have my hands on the driver's, on the steering wheel, to be in the driver's seat on the deal, and to feel like I have really, that you always begin with the end in mind, but now I can see that I'm the light at the end of the tunnel. I'm headed in the right direction. There's really I can get to the destination.
Yeah, and that light at the end of the tunnel is not an oncoming train, right?
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, that's the good part. You know, I think you're set. I think you've got it all dialed in. I mean, you've effectively explained to me and the audience what your vision is, what your plan is, and at the end of the day, you just got to stay on top of it. And it's not that hard to stay on top of it because you've got a great team that you've built that assists you. I mean, they do 99% of the work. Your job is just to collect some information, make decisions, and give them feedback so that they can continue to do the right things for you, right?
That's correct. Absolutely.
So when are you going to look for your next asset? I mean, is there a waiting period that you need to go through, or are you looking now, or what's the thought process on that?
That's a great question. I've been getting that a lot lately. Once you close your first deal, you get a lot of people coming because they know that you're active in the market. They know that you're willing to buy and that you're willing to close. And the answer I've been given is I've got a lot of people counting on me on this deal. So I'm going to really make sure that we're stabilized, that we're done with our business. We've implemented our business plan before I really start looking for the next one. I really want to make sure that this one gets off to the right start and really gets good, solid foundation operationally, and we get all our projects done. So I'm going to keep my eye on this ball for at least the next 6, maybe even 12 months before I start looking again. But I'm really, Lifestyles wants you to be stabilized, fully stabilized 90 days, 90% occupancy for 90 days. But I see myself staying on it longer than that, just to make sure that we're good and that this is off to a great start.
Well, Ben, I want to thank you for being on today's show. I think you made a difference in somebody's life. I think you educated somebody, and that is brilliant. If you want to do what Ben's doing, you want to do what I'm doing, you want to do what the tens of thousands of members of Lifestyles Unlimited are doing, go to lifestylesunlimited.com, click on Start Here, and let's get you going.
Thank you for listening to Lifestyles Unlimited's Real Estate Investor Radio Show. Ready for more of the map? Visit lifestylesunlimited.com. Explore our videos and articles. Click on the radio tab to access past show podcasts. View the radio show schedule and listen to our best of radio shows. Want to continue the conversation? Follow Lifestyles Unlimited on Facebook today. We want to meet you as well. Sign up for a free workshop at lifestylesunlimited.com. Until next time, remember, it's not the money, it's the lifestyle.
The information and opinions you hear on the Lifestyles Unlimited Real Estate Investor Radio Show are those of the hosts, guests, and callers and do not necessarily reflect the opinions of this station, its affiliates, its management, or advertisers. The Lifestyles Unlimited Real Estate Investor Radio Show is for entertainment purposes only. Please consult a professional regarding your personal investment needs. Nothing presented on the Lifestyles Unlimited Real Estate Investor Radio Show constitutes an endorsement, recommendation, offer, or solicitation to buy or sell any product or security.